What's up, y'all? Welcome to Around Ground Bunker. Tonight I'm doing a little video. Like I said, I was gonna do a series on these PCC barrels, these 9 millimeters. Building them and stuff like that, and things I've come across. Uh, the barrel in question I don't have in front of me tonight because I took it back and I had to take it back fast because I should have did a video about it first, but I'll tell you what was going on. So this is one from, see if you can see it on there. See if I can find it. Get it to focus. It's a P right there. I think you can see it. It's from Palmetto State Armory. PCC 1 in 10. Man, I wish you could see that better. Oh, maybe you can. Anyway, so it's this is a 10.5 inch, which I went on a barrel looking for barrels because I don't want to go 10.5 inches on a PCC because to me that defeats the purpose. I want to go like a backpack gun or something like that. So I went to Primary Arms and they had a 5.5 inch 9 millimeter barrel, and I'll show you what was going on. So on some of these barrels, you see the feed cones are different. This one doesn't have like a real pronounced feed cone. It's good. I've polished it and everything on this one, and everything feeds pretty good and stuff like that. But what was going on, that some of these chambers in these PCC barrels, and you need to take this into consideration, because see, this one will go in and you can turn the bullet, right? It's not catching the rifling or nothing like that, and that's on the XTP. This is 147 grain. This is set back more. It's supposed to be like at 1.1 is what the book calls for on your loads. You can adjust that, but you need to adjust your powder load because it's going to be more pressures and stuff like that. Even on this one, this is you see where I pulled the bullet, but I checked it on that barrel too. On this barrel, it's perfect. This barrel perfect, but on that Expo Arms 5.5 inch, it sit proud just about like that. And then, man, I really had to adjust my bullet seat depth on that to like, I think I could get it to seat at 1.06 without, it would seat, but I could get it to turn right about there at 1.06 or 1.05, something like that, or it would catch the rifling. We're right there at the 1 point, like I said, 1.05, I think. It wasn't catching the rifling. But still, if you know anything about PCC barrels or just a regular, AR-15 PCC, and they're fun to shoot, man. They're really fun to shoot. They're just violent, just that bolt just slams into the back of that, it doesn't go in like a regular AR-15 bolt and lock in and unlock. They CMMG makes one. It's kind of like a delayed blowback or something like that. But the regular bolt just slams. And even at this right here, and I put a good crimp on it too. Not this one, but I've tried different crimps. And man, when that thing, I'd let that bolt go, it would go in. It would set the bullet back more. It would hit that rifling and push it back more. Now, you might be asking, well, maybe it's only the XTPs. Well, I went to the store. I tried some Federal Hydra-Shocks, 147 grain, same thing. I put 147 grain Spear Gold Dot in there, same thing. Not in this barrel now, in the Expo Arms barrel. This PCA, Palmetto State Armory barrel, it's good. I just don't like the feed cone of it, okay? So today, I went and I traded that barrel in, and I got a Foxtrot Mike, the 7-inch barrel. It's perfect. Chamber's perfect. It's just like this PSA. And I like the feed cone better than this one. I like the feed cone better that was on that Expo Arms barrel, but like I'm saying, I want to be. It says shoot everything through it, but if you're having setback on your bullets, that's you're messing with pressures and stuff like that. Even with factory ammo, you're playing with fire because just say it doesn't set, the bolt doesn't set all the way in, it hits the rifling, and then you're going to have an outer battery discharge, and then you're going to have a case separation, right there, and it might not hurt you, it might, but it very well could, but it could mess your gun up and things like that. And I had went and shot. They ran. I didn't notice it until I was manually feeding them one night because I was working on some reloads, the 147 grains, and I noticed it, and I was like, why is it? When I tried to extract it, it was sticking, and it was because it would make a line, kind of like this, but this is from me pulling the bullet. But it would make a line right about there, on this XTP. Let's see if you can see it on there. No. Yeah, it's right there. It's kind of a little line right there where it was just catching that rifling, and when I would try to extract it, I'd get some resistance. I know you're not, trying to extract live bullets or nothing like that, but what I'm trying to say is if it goes in there and it's pushing that bullet back, setback, then that's a problem. It's messing with pressures. It can mess with your accuracy too, because you've worked up that load. Or if it's factory ammunition that you're shooting, and say you sometimes you keep one chambered. I'm not saying you're gonna keep one chambered on a PCC, but just say you chamber one and you didn't use it, and then you eject it and you put it back in your magazine, and you don't inspect the bullet because you didn't think it didn't hit anything or nothing going in, so that didn't cause it. It didn't hit up top or anything like that, so that didn't cause it. So, and you're not that didn't happen, so you're not really looking at your bullet, and then you do look at it, and then you go to shoot it. It could be catastrophic because you don't know. I don't know what they load them, the factory loads with, what kind of powder they use or whatever. I've looked at them before, try to figure it out, but it's hard. But on these XTPs, like I said, this is at about, I think this one's a little bit more than 1.0. I think it's 1.07 on this one I measured, and it was sticking still. Doesn't do nothing in this one. Spins freely. See it? It's not catching the rifling. Not catching the rifling. This one right here was at 1.1, and I promise you it was catching the rifling. And that's on a round nose, just regular, full metal jacket. But I did try some full metal jackets here, 147 grain, that it wouldn't do it. It could be the ogive of the bullet. I've had that problem with some Acme bullets, good shooting bullets, but you have to adjust your load, but that going into it. But if you're buying, like I said, factory ammunition, and you don't know that, then, you have it for self-defense anyway, or just a plink. But say you do have it as a backpack gun or something like that. I'm not saying Expo Arms is a bad barrel, but I wouldn't buy it because it's not going to chamber everything. And if it does, I'm going to have that bullet set back. So in my eyes, yeah, they need to take another look at maybe the throat of that barrel, extending the throat. And if you look on Stern Defense's website, they specifically talk about their barrels they lengthen the throat or whatever. I can't remember how they put it, but they do something with the throat to make it chamber more, all kinds of hollow points and different bullets with different ogives. They talk about it. So, and I called them to ask them about it, and they even said, well, if you want to, I was going to load a XTP, to the 1.1, like it says in the book, of course, without, just a dummy round, and they were going to stick it in the barrel. That's pretty cool that they would do that, just to test it out, just to see. But she was telling me that they do that, their barrels are cut like that. So I talked to, I think it's TACCOM. I called them about their barrels. He said he uses a certain kind of reamer. So I mean, I can't say for his barrels, but obviously these XTPs is a definite major problem if you're reloading. But if you're reloading, you can adjust your depth, but when you start messing with the depth, you're basically going plus P. Because if you've ever looked at a plus P bullet, the same bullet that they use, XTP, and a regular pressure is going, you're making that bullet a basically a, I just said it, a plus P round. So with these, it's not, and your powder is not a plus P powder that I'm using. So if you're not using a plus P powder and say it's a faster burning powder, you're gonna be like plus P plus P plus. So you might have a compressed load, and playing with fire, and you just don't want, like I said, if you're using it for self-defense, and that would be a main aspect of it, is if you had a catastrophic failure, and then you're screwed. That's the only round you're going to get off. You might throw your magazine out of your gun, and you could do anything. Blow up in your damn face. But so I was just bringing this video to y'all. I was going to do just like a review on this barrel, but I wanted to let y'all know about them Expo barrels. At least the 5.5 inch. I can't say for their 7-inch. Could be a different manufacturer. Expo Arms is, it's Primary Arms brand, so they very well could use a different manufacturer for the 7-inch barrel, and it could have a better throat. I didn't test it, so. But I appreciate y'all coming out tonight. If you could, like, subscribe. Tell me down in the comments if you've had this problem with this barrel, and not this barrel, but the Expo Arms barrel, and or other barrels, and we get the word out there to other guys that are doing these builds, so we know, hey, don't get that barrel because the throat's too short. You could have problems. But I appreciate y'all coming out tonight. Thank you.